Otakuology Podcast with Otaku Mike and Jin Graves.
Hey guys, how's it going? Otaku Mike here, back again with another episode of the Otakuology Podcast. Welcome to any new viewers. Welcome to for any old viewers. I hope you've liked the episodes that we've created so far. How's it going, Jin?
Pretty good. I feel like we're almost doing like a otaku at midnight kind of
I
feel.
mean, yeah, our last couple were at midnight. You could say that. I mean, I don't think we got done potting the other day. I think we stopped around like 1:00 in the morning.
Right.
It's been crazy. We've been trying to like stockpile podcasts,
Right.
and
Or figuring out how to use the stuff, or
oh yeah,
whatever.
It's been pretty crazy on learning how to podcast. Yeah, but what are we talking about today? You brought this topic up to me.
So today we're going to talk about basically being an otaku parent, which is one I feel like we had a lot of success and stuff with back when we did it before. So I kind of wanted to keep that going and us actually do another one on here.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we
general.
can reuse our old topics, I guess you could say, because technically they're new topics because none of that content exists anymore.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, being an otaku parent or being a nerdy, geeky parent is a real. I don't want to say it's an interesting thing because technically all parents have hobbies.
Well, most parents have hobbies.
Well, most parents have hobbies,
Yeah,
but we'll get into that later.
I feel like some parents want to say that their parenting is a hobby, and
yeah, we'll get into that
true.
later. I have stuff to say about that. But I mean, normally parents do have hobbies. I don't want to say it's a little different or harder to have like nerd hobbies, but I kind of feel like it is sometimes. Um, I mean, you and I are both parents. You have one child. I have two. And
right, we both have a mess of dogs. I feel like
yeah.
that's another form of parenting right there.
Oh my God, you don't know how many times. I mean, you guys have probably heard my dogs in the background recording this stuff because they're barking or whatnot. Listen hard, you can find them. But right now they're shut up in a room sleeping because I had to find a quiet space to record. And right now it's in my kitchen, sitting at my table.
Right.
Because it's very hard to find a place to record.
So if we hear you open the fridge or anything, I'll just tell you to slide me a Coke or something.
Oh yeah, most definitely. But yeah, this is a topic that we have talked about before. So yeah, why don't we just get into this? You want to take it away?
Sure.
All right.
So I mean, like you mentioned and everything about having the one and everything, and different stuff. So if you listen to our Pokemon one that we did earlier, kind of talking about some of that stuff. So my Pokemon gallery figures that I actually collect, I feel like are actually kind of like Neil Armstrong stepping on the moon for my kid, because he saw me playing one of the games on my Switch, and I pointed out because I had a Gyarados on there, that I also had the Pokemon gallery figure for the Gyarados, and so for like a straight week it was like he kept pointing at it, and so I was like, okay, well, I wonder if it's time for us to transition into him watching some of that stuff. So we ended up watching the episode with that, and it was just kind of funny because it seemed like he really enjoyed it,
Yeah.
knowing that that was something that was in that I have a statue of, and having a video game that's
Uh-huh.
in it.
Do you feel like he's drawn to any of that stuff in particular?
Um, Not exactly.
Uh-huh.
I feel like we're still kind of in the Hot
Uh,
Wheels
I mean, 'cause
phase,
he's only like 3, right?
right?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean,
But
how, how,
it has been I feel like a more of a learning experience and stuff for him,
uh-huh,
because he knows like where his books are and he knows where my books are.
uh-huh,
I have a set of 2 bookshelves in my room, that he's got the 2 lower shelves on it, and I have the upper 2 or 3 shelves on it. And
mm-hmm,
he kind of sees how I guess respect my manga and stuff,
yeah,
and I've seen him do that with his books now, and making sure that they look nice and they're put up
uh-huh.
together, and things like that. So um,
So, he's still kind of young and whatnot.
right,
When you were like getting ready to be a parent and whatnot, were you like worried at all that I don't want to sound like selfish or anything when I say this, but worried that your collecting days would be over because you would have to focus on your child?
no, I knew I would probably have to give stuff up
Uh-huh.
to do that, but in my mind, it was more so giving up um, buying so much manga,
Uh-huh.
or not buying Gunpla and using that to buy manga or something.
Yeah.
Giving something up besides having to really keep all that.
Yeah, when I was uh newer parent, I don't want to say younger parent, but newer parent, I had those fears like wholeheartedly, um because I wasn't necessarily in the best financial situation at the time. I don't want to really go into it that much, but
Right.
I mean that's kind of a whole other podcast we could probably do. And I had to give up my entire collection basically at one point,
Right.
uh, to uh, to survive and make sure my child had things that they needed. Uh, I feel like it would like I was. I feel I don't want to say like my. I felt like a part of me was going away
Right.
in a sense because I was so used to collecting and I thought like, oh, I would have to definitely put all this
This
stuff on the back burner.
this
Like,
was like right after your youngest was born, though, right?
yeah, Allison was born. Yeah,
Yeah.
I only technically have one biological child.
Right.
Yeah, because I live in a blended family, uh, and I
Right.
was like, I remember sitting in the waiting room, and I remember her grandfather on her mom's side. She was like, oh, he was like, no more buying like Xbox games for you or whatever. You're gonna be buying diapers or whatever. And I was like, I don't want to. I just had this really like sinking, like depressing feeling
Right.
that like I don't want to say my life was over, but at the time I felt like it was because I was not in the right state of mind,
Right.
and it was very hard to deal with and very hard to transition for me into having a new life, um, like one might say.
Right. I think since all the stuff, you know,
Uh
kind of
huh.
like kind of like fighting for my child and everything or whatever, I think it probably would be harder, and part of that stuff
Uh-huh.
would have to be
Put on the back burner.
put on the back burner or given up more.
Oh yeah, like
If we
most
hadn't
definitely.
if we hadn't made it through like the first part of it, because like formula and diapers are like
Yeah,
expensive.
it's all expensive. Yeah, and
So I mean,
if you don't have government assistance,
right,
it can eat away at your paycheck.
right, and I mean, even if you do have like government assistance, like it's one thing to just have a drop in the bucket, and another thing to be able to fill the bucket up.
Yeah,
So
that's one thing. I feel like um, when coming into like the manga collecting community, some people don't understand because they don't have kids.
right,
Uh, like people sometimes expect me to like when I would make videos or whatever for like me to have like read like an entire series and you know constantly read manga and whatnot, and I'm just like I don't always have the time.
right,
I have priorities that overtake that.
right,
I have
and
to deal. I don't have to deal with it, but I have to. Um, I have a life that I by law I have to take care of.
right. Yeah, I mean,
Their needs come before mine.
right. I mean, I totally feel that too, because like and I mean, this.
Yeah,
Whenever I do have him or whatever, it's kind of like go go go, never stop,
yeah,
always be on the move. And any time that I get with that, like if he's asleep, then it's kind of like it's still a hindrance on me in some way. Because like if I play Fortnite with Kathleen, or if he's taking a nap in the middle of the day and I want to read some manga or whatever, it's putting up with that, and then
yeah,
still having that, choosing that over like sleep, or
yeah,
maybe missing a meal so you can enjoy like a good book or something, and or getting done cooking and being like, oh my god, all right, my kid ate, my kid's going to sleep now. What do I want to do? Well, I should probably eat or do something like this, but I'm gonna read a book.
yeah. Yeah, no, most definitely. I hate to stop you in mid sentence, but we have to hear a word from our sponsors.
Our sponsors.
Yeah, exciting.
Hey guys, so we're back on this subject of being an otaku parent, and we left off basically uh, about talking about our kids and our hobbies.
Yeah.
So moving on from where we left off, basically, um, one of the things I feel like might be a positive in a lot of it is getting to actually enjoy that stuff and breaking it up and splitting it up, um, almost like a journal or something of your time for your kids.
Oh yeah, I mean it's most definitely a balancing act. Like I mean, it's easier for me than it is for you probably because your child is younger.
Right,
Mine are 10 and 8, and they're able to like we do have family time and we do have one-on-one time, and there are times where they'll go off and see their other parents,
right,
and so that gives me time to record a podcast like I'm doing right now,
right,
because I've had nobody here this whole weekend. But like, it's easier for me because they're starting to get into their own hobbies.
right,
Like, my daughter really loves playing Animal Crossing and the Pokemon games or like Mario Kart. She's been really getting into playing video games and whatnot, and collecting Pokemon cards and stuff. So it is easier for me, and my son, he's always on his Xbox, so he kind of just stays in his room
Yeah.
a lot of times, like most preteens do or whatever,
Right.
playing and yelling. You'll probably hear him yelling through his room
Right.
when if we record when he's here one day. So yeah, it's all a balancing act. And
Do you ever find yourself like sometimes if I'm reading a manga, I have that kind of like in the back of my head like parental advisory warning,
oh yeah,
and it's like,
most
is this
definitely.
acceptable? Like, if I wanted to hand this to my kid, could I do this? And
There
what age can I hand that to him at?
there have been plenty of times where like Allison will walk in and I'll be reading a manga and she'll be like, "What you reading?" And I'm like, "Oh, nothing." And I'll like put it and like I'll put it under like the cover or something. So I'll be like I'll be on my bed or whatever, just reading a book. And I'll be like, I can't show you what I'm reading. It's not appropriate.
Right. You almost got
There's
to
one.
divert it. Hey, did you read
Yeah,
the Pokemon manga? What did you think about
yeah,
that
yeah.
other chapter?
Which is, usually when I read, I have to be alone and the door closed because I need to focus on that, instead of,
Right.
and they're all, you know, I kind of have to shut myself off to the world when I'm reading manga or I won't pay attention to it.
Right.
Because I do have a attention deficit disorder. So it's harder for me to read manga when everything's going on. There are times where they'll be like yelling or playing or whatever. I'll be like, oh my God, can you guys just be quiet or whatever? Like, come on, like just tone it down. I know you're kids, but come on. Yeah.
Right. Read a book or something.
Yeah, read a book.
Jesus.
God. Go read Dogman, you
Right.
know. But yeah, it's uh, I've learned to let things like give things up and let things go, and it's basically I'm compromising with myself in order to spend time with my children and have my own me time,
Right.
because every parent needs their me time, whether they say they don't or not. They technically do, because all of us are gonna go crazy,
Right.
especially when we're quarantined with our children who are annoying 80% of the time, and
So
it's
so there's a show that I wanted to bring up for this.
okay.
Um, so earlier, you brought up the Superstore, and I feel like that one
Uh-huh.
relies on some relationships. But we did have the one girl that got pregnant and had her kid, and
Yeah.
we got to kind of see her life through how she was still dealing with the store on top of working there and the
Yeah.
kid
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So this other one that I recently finished too is called Single Parents,
Oh yeah.
and it's really funny seeing the transition of how they want to do different stuff and how uh, they work together because, like one time, one parent might have uh, all six of the kids or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and then the other parents will go do something, and it's kind of like pretty crazy when
Yeah.
it comes down to that. And I almost feel like that's a weird thing because I don't feel like there's ever enough otaku parents where anybody lives.
Yeah, that is true. But I do feel like one thing with the MangaTube community is that's one thing that I've really grown to love and find out is the people who are parents, and we've kind of banded together and like support each other.
Right.
And just I feel like we have more in common with somebody else who is a parent and who likes manga and whatnot than somebody who is 23 and in college, or
Right.
whatever,
And doesn't have a kid.
it doesn't understand that, hey man, I can't do this right now, I can't,
Right.
you know
So here's another thing that I find funny, and I really think you'll find it funny because we've talked about it, but I don't think you or I have ever thought about it in the sense of us being parents with it.
Uh-huh.
But when you have younger kids or whatever that are in like one of these communities that you and I are basically in, and
Uh-huh.
they want to sit there and kind of bitch about, oh, well, they can't afford anything or whatever. And I just find it really funny that usually we power through to buy our stuff
Oh yeah, most definitely.
on top of paying bills and doing all this other stuff. And it's like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
you
Most
have
most
no bitching
yeah, yeah. Oh,
room for
most definitely.
for
You
not
want
being
to
able to afford
like
anything when I'm the one paying bills and all this other stuff.
I look at all these big ass manga halls or whatever, like, and I'm just like, okay, some people I'm like, okay, yeah, I know you can afford that, but there are people out there who get like really, really big manga halls, and
Yeah,
I'm like, I get maybe 8, 10, maybe 12 books a month, maybe
right.
usually around 8 or 9 books if I'm lucky.
Yeah,
Because
because I think mine's about 15 or 20.
yeah, I get around like 8 books, maybe 10. Uh, but I always have to put it in my mind um, that my bills come first. I have a house, I have a car payment. I have medical bills I have to pay off. I have to pick up my medication. I have to buy food.
Right,
I have to put gas in my car. I know I'm not saying like a 20-year-old doesn't have to do that either, but it's harder when you have a child as well who might need clothes or might need money for a school thing or getting school supplies.
right.
You have to
And the weird thing is, I feel like that's the difference between those paychecks is usually about a $200 difference.
I mean, it's
That's
usually
the weird
I
part.
it's usually I buy all my manga at the beginning of the month, and I already have it planned out what I'm going to buy, and I buy it at the beginning of the month. I don't wait till the end of the month to buy my manga. I buy it at the beginning of each month.
Right,
First paycheck, I buy my manga. I use the rest for bills and whatever I need to use for, and then I use the other paycheck for bills as well. Or
right,
if I'm lucky, I might have a little bit of extra, and I might buy a graphic novel or something like that, or a comic book,
right,
or I might get a Gunpla model. Like the only reason like I went to like that Gunpla store I went to that one day and I dropped like all that money, it's because I got a bonus at my work.
right.
Like I got like $1,000 bonus at my work, and I was like, "Fuck yeah!"
Doing
you know,
it.
I put half of it away for bills, but I was like, I'm gonna treat myself and I'm gonna buy myself some Gunpla. You know,
Right. And I think it's really funny that even though I buy more manga than you, I put myself on a more strict regiment. Like if I like my manga order that's in right now,
yeah,
I won't buy any more manga until that comes in. So
yeah,
if one book's not in there and I don't get that for a month, 2 months, I won't buy
uh
any
huh,
more manga.
yeah,
And
yeah.
until that comes in, where there's only one volume or something else I'm waiting on from the order, I won't put another order in until all that stuff comes in, basically.
So let me ask you this, because I've had people tell me this before, um, other parents, and they were like, "I don't understand why you have all these hobbies or have this stuff." Uh, like my hobby is being a parent,
Right,
and I'm just like, "Fuck that." Like, come on. Like being a parent is not a fucking hobby.
right.
Like
No,
it is not. It is
I
is not, and I
right.
think I
No,
think
I feel like that's a cop out,
yeah, no, most
honestly.
definitely. Most definitely.
And I feel like you really need to get looked at close if you say that. Sorry to anybody that might say things like that, but I do really feel like that's a cop out, and I feel like if you have to admit and say something like being a parent is your hobby,
Yeah,
then
like
you're doing something wrong
yeah,
because
I remember when
like what's the definition of a hobby?
yeah, it's something you do in your spare time.
Exactly. So are you just a parent in your spare time?
Yeah.
So
No, being a parent never ends,
right,
like I remember Allison's mom being like, you got to let go of these childish things and be a parent. And I'm like, well, these are my hobbies. Like, I'm not going to drop my hobbies. I'm just going to switch priorities. And like, but to her, like, being a parent was her hobby and she didn't need any other hobbies.
right.
So she considered being a parent her hobby. And I was just like, no, no, I do this. I need to have this extra stuff to keep myself fucking sane.
Right.
Like
And
there was,
isn't it kind of weird after like that person leaves
yeah.
or whatever? It seems like somehow you end up having more money than you thought you did,
Oh yeah, most definitely. I was fucking broke all the time.
and
I could, I could, I
it's
could
like
barely, I
that
could barely
other
keep a, I could
that
barely keep a roof over my head.
yeah. It's kind of like that other person was the person that was draining it all out of you.
Oh yeah, most
You
definitely.
know,
They drained every fucking thing out of me, and I'm glad where I am right now. I'm happy. I love my wife. I love the kids most of the time. Uh,
most of the time.
but
Don't like the Bart Simpson commercials. Better not lay a finger on my butterfinger. You're like, better not lay a
yeah.
finger on my manga.
Oh
Okay,
yeah, don't fucking touch my manga. Don't touch my stuff. You'll lose a hand. You know.
right.
That my kids know. Don't touch my stuff unless you ask. If don't touch my stuff. And they don't touch my stuff.
Right.
They'll maybe ask questions about it and whatnot. Like if I'm building a gunpla or something, they'll ask me, "Hey, what are you doing? Which one are you building?" Stuff like that. They're like, "Oh, like Allison is like, oh, I want to build one," and like, okay, well, when I have the money, I'll get you a little like entry grade like Pikachu or something like that, like model kit.
A Harupla.
No, I'll probably go with Pikachu because Pikachu has an entry grade kit for it,
Yeah.
so like really easy to build, you know. But yeah, like it's all just a balancing act, in the end, there's nothing wrong with being a parent. It makes your life a lot more interesting. I'll say that much, and you get kept on your toes a lot.
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
it's
So I know that me and part of the other people are kind of in that same vein. Like our kids are still pretty young
yeah,
and whatnot, so we don't necessarily have that. But like our friend Papa Weeb or Daddy Weeb or whatever,
oh yeah, yeah,
I think it's kind of cool
oh
that
most, yeah,
if we were gonna kind of aspire to that, um, like
yeah. I mean,
him and his daughter and his
yeah,
wife are all
oh yeah,
otakus.
yeah. I mean, like I don't really want that for my wife to be an otaku, but she accepts me for who I am,
Right.
you know, like flaws and all. She lets me have my hobbies. I let her have her hobbies, and our hobbies aren't the same thing except for maybe playing video games. Um,
I
but
think your one hobby that is the same all across the board is Gin Grave. So
it's debatable. But yeah, no. Daddy Weeb from Meet the Weeb family is one of the most nicest guys I've met. And I was like so excited to see another parent in the manga YouTube community, and I thought it was the coolest thing. Like his kid and his wife, uh, both share that love, and they share that love and um, like I just lost my train of thought. Like passion for manga and anime,
right.
and seeing their collection as a whole, and I know he does have other hobbies like painting and building the miniatures that he builds, like the little figures for his tabletop games, which is they're fucking.
Yeah,
If you ever see his pictures of miniatures, they are fucking amazing. But
right. So, side note, you know who asks him to do that all the time, right?
it's you. I already know
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I know that.
I
Uh,
was like, oh, you're putting that out. I love that shit. Please
well,
post pictures of it.
I mean, yeah, he sends them to me too. But yeah, like I think it's the coolest thing to share your hobby with your child. You know,
Right.
it's cool, and I think it's cool that he does it. You know,
Yeah, and I think it's really cool on that manga is kind of what's brought us all together, like including like
yeah.
our friend Darth Penn,
Oh yeah.
and
I
we've
mean,
used
I think Darth also builds Gunpla with his son
right,
as well.
and that's what I was getting at is like so we have different hobbies, and manga is what brought us together, but then we stay friends and everything because we branch out from that. Like I said, like
Yeah,
Daddy Weeb and stuff, like doing the miniatures, that was something
yeah,
else, and his wife doing art, and then with Darth Penn, like Darth Penn started Gunpla and stuff from a previous podcast that you and I did, and
yeah.
stuff from there, and I think it's just really nice to see that stuff and
I'm
see
just
that continue on.
I'm just saying. I just gotta say this right now because he's probably gonna listen to this.
Yeah.
Uh, I Darth Penn's wife. I apologize for creating a monster when it comes to your husband buying Gunpla because he is on a roll right now and he has been building a lot of Gunpla
So
while in quarantine.
so
But I'm so sorry.
here's the question: is he more of a monster than I was when you got me back into Gunpla?
No, but he has been building a lot, and his models have been looking pretty sick.
Yeah,
Just saying. And I don't know how many times he's like, I got more. I think he got more kits today. Actually, he got
yeah.
like three. I think he got like three kits today.
He got
He was
five
like,
kids. He got five
oh,
kids today.
oh, five kids. I thought it was only three. But
No,
yeah, was it? Oh, it doesn't matter. But he got kits, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna have a busy Saturday." And I was like, yes, you are." You know, but it's cool.
well, I just love. I made a suggestion. I was like, hey, here's this other one. I was like, it transforms and stuff too. If you want to get it, I was like, here it is. And made a suggestion to do the Sergeant Frog ones because you can put them together into a super
Yeah,
robot.
but transformable gunpla can be iffy. Like a lot of the transformable gunpla can't stand up on themselves.
Well, no, that's what
They
I'm
usually
saying
need to stand.
is it doesn't transform. You put the parts together to do that.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I just thought the Sergeant Frog ones were okay. It was okay in my opinion.
You'll have to get the samurai one.
I don't want to get the samurai one. I already built the 15th or 10th anniversary one, and then it fell apart on me in my move. So it was yeah.
That's just because you're bad at building models.
You take that back, sir.
It was because here I got one better. It was because it was high grade level, and you're not good at building high grade level ones because it's not a master grade level. Okay,
I mean, master grade for life. Just saying.
no master grade for
Al-
life.
Although some of the kits that have been recently coming out that are high grade are actually a lot better than the old high grades that have been coming out. They're like sturdier,
Oh
which is
yeah, most definitely.
yeah, I'm kind of going back into high grade, but master grade all the way. Just saying. Master grades are fucking awesome. Anyways, do you have anything else to say before you make me go on a Gunpla rant?
No,
Because
no. I mean, I feel like the other fun thing with all that is because of all of us being such close friends or whatever. That if you did ever go on a trip, they would still give your kid like the same aura or atmosphere like you do almost.
oh yeah, I can see it.
So and I feel like that's kind of a thing too, is through the bonds of parenthood, we've actually had almost like a manga otaku um, parenthood that grew out of it,
Sure.
So,
But yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely go check out Darth Penn and Meet the Weeb family. They have amazing channels. If anybody's listening. But yeah, I have nothing else to say on this topic. I think I'm talked out.
yep,
Being a parent and being a quote otaku it's fun. I wouldn't change it for the world.
right. Being a
It's
parent
yeah,
and being an otaku
yeah, both.
is apparently being an otaku.
Yeah, most definitely. But yeah,
So
uh,
apparently,
thanks for watching. You can find us on Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify and Anchor FM. Go to Apple Podcast, leave us a 5-star review, and we will read your review on the podcast, whether it is negative or positive,
right?
because it does help the podcast grow. We are a newer podcast, so we need all the help and support we can get. Share it with your friends, share it on social media,
And
tell them,
let us know anything that you would like us to try and cover.
yeah, most definitely, because we could always use some extra stuff to cover. It's not like we're running out of anything, but it's always good to think outside the box. Sometimes you can't think outside the box when
Right. And I mean,
you're in the box.
we went into this thinking that we were gonna cover a little one, and we've actually gone over time for what we actually set aside for this. So
Yeah, most definitely. But
so you never know.
I hope you guys enjoy this, and I hope some good conversation comes uh, through about this podcast. And I hope you guys were entertained. And I'm Otaku Mike. That's Jen
Right.
Graves.
And
And
always remember,
where will
see
we see him?
see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.